the smell of antiseptic hand soap, the faint hum of a heartbeat monitor through the wall, the weight of prenatal vitamins in my hand that I'd found hidden in my husband's briefcase. That moment, standing in the hallway of Rose City Women's Clinic in downtown Portland, was the moment Margaret Walsh ceased to exist. The woman I'd been for 32 years, the devoted wife, the supportive partner, the woman who'd given up her career so Tom could chase his dreams, she died right there. And in her place, someone I didn't recognize yet was being born. I'd made the decision to come here 3 days ago. Not out of rage, though God knows I had every right to it. Not even out of curiosity. I came because I needed to see her face. I needed to understand what was worth destroying 3 decades of marriage, 2 grown children, and a life we'd built together brick by brick. I needed to look into the eyes of the woman carrying my husband's child and ask myself, was she a villain? Or was she, like me, just another victim of Tom Walsh's carefully constructed lies? But I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to understand how I got here. You need to know who we used to be. Portland in autumn is beautiful. The leaves turn gold and crimson, and the air smells like rain and coffee. And if you're lucky, you can still catch salmon running up the Willamette River. Tom and I moved here 32 years ago when he was just starting out in real estate. I was 26, fresh out of my master's program in education, ready to change the world one classroom at a time. Tom was 28, hungry, ambitious, full of dreams about building something that mattered. We bought a small craftsman house in the Laurelhurst neighborhood. It needed work, but Tom promised he'd fix it up himself. And he did. Every weekend for 2 years, we stripped wallpaper and refinished floors and painted trim. We planted a Japanese maple in the front yard. We hung a swing on the porch. We were happy. I became a teacher at Madison High School. Tom started his own development company. Within 5 years, he was building luxury condos in the Pearl District. Within 10, he'd made his first $1 million. And somewhere in those years, I gave up teaching to raise our children. Emily was born when I was 30. Jake came 2 years later. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself I'd go back once they were in school. But by the time Jake started kindergarten, Tom's business had exploded. He needed me to host dinners for clients, to smile at fundraisers, to be the perfect wife while he closed deals. And I did it. I was good at it. I told myself I was still contributing, still building our dream, just in a different way. 22 years later, I was 58 years old. Emily was 30 with her own family in Seattle. Jake was 28, working as a journalist in Los Angeles. And I was alone in that craftsman house we'd fixed up together. Rattling around in rooms full of memories, wondering when my husband had stopped kissing me goodbye in the mornings. Wondering when the space between us in bed had grown so cold. It started small. Little things you tell yourself don't mean anything. Tom working later and later, coming home at 9, 10, 11 at night. The cologne that changed from the woody scent he'd worn for decades to something sharper, younger. The way he'd started going to the gym at 5:30 every morning, suddenly concerned about staying in shape at 62. The cell phone that was always face down on the counter, that he'd grab quickly whenever it buzzed. I told myself I was being paranoid. We'd been married 32 years. Tom wasn't the cheating type. He was devoted to his work, yes, but devoted to me too. Wasn't he? But then came the night that changed everything. It was a Tuesday in late September. Tom had texted that he'd be home by 7. I'd made pot roast, his favorite, spent the afternoon preparing it the way his mother used to make it. 7 came and went. 8. 9. By 9:30, I was angry. By 10, I was worried. At 10:15, I decided to clean out his home office, to do something with my hands while I waited. That's when I found his briefcase. Left uncharacteristically at home. Tom never forgot his briefcase. It was expensive. Leather. Monogrammed. A gift from his biggest client 5 years ago. I told myself I was just checking if he'd left anything important. I told myself I had every right to look. Inside were the usual things: legal pads, business cards, his iPad, and then, tucked into the side pocket, a receipt. Rose City Women's Clinic, a bill for an ultrasound appointment. Patient name, Jasmine Chen. Insurance, Thomas Walsh. Amount due, $0. Date, 3 weeks ago. My hands started shaking. Thomas Walsh. His full name, the one he only used for legal documents and insurance forms. Not mine. His. I sat down on the floor of his office, that receipt in my hands, and I couldn't breathe. An ultrasound, a woman's clinic, his insurance. The front door opened. Maggie? You still up? Tom's voice, casual, normal, like he hadn't just destroyed my entire world without even knowing it. I stood up, smoothed my shirt, and walked out of that office with the receipt folded in my pocket. I made pot roast, I said. My voice sounded normal. How was that possible? Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I grabbed something at the office. Big client meeting tomorrow. He kissed my cheek. The new cologne. Sharp. Young. Wrong. You should have texted me. I did. 3 times. Oh, sorry. My phone's been acting up. He pulled it out, glanced at it, tucked it away. I'm exhausted. I'm going to shower and head to bed. And just like that, he was gone, up the stairs, into the shower, into our bed, while I stood in the kitchen with a pot roast congealing on the counter and a receipt burning a hole in my pocket. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to my husband of 32 years and listened to him breathe, and all I could think was, who is Jasmine Chen? And why is my husband paying for her medical care? The next morning, I called Linda Martinez. Linda and I had been friends since 2nd grade, back when we were both kids in Southeast Portland, before gentrification turned our neighborhood into boutique coffee shops and artisan bakeries. Linda had become a cop, worked her way up to detective, retired 5 years ago, and opened a private investigation firm. She'd always told me, if you ever need anything, Mags, anything at all, you call me. I'd never imagined I'd need this. We met at a coffee shop in Hawthorne. Linda took one look at my face and said, you found something, didn't you? I slid the receipt across the table. She picked it up, read it, and her expression hardened. How long do you want me on this? As long as it takes. Do you want to know everything? Because Maggie, sometimes the details are worse than the broad strokes. Everything, I said. I need to know everything. Linda nodded. Give me 3 days. Those 3 days were the longest of my life. I moved through my house like a ghost. I made dinner. I smiled when Tom came home. I asked about his day, and every night I lay awake next to him and wondered how long he'd been lying to me. How many times had he kissed me goodbye and gone to her? How many client meetings were actually afternoons in her bed? How many business trips were weekends away together? On the 3rd day, Linda called. Hawthorne Coffee, now. I drove there in a daze. Linda was waiting in the back corner, a manila folder on the table in front of her. She pushed it toward me. Her name is Jasmine Chen. She's 31. She works as a junior architect at Tom's company. She's been there for 18 months. Linda paused. Maggie, she's 6 months pregnant. The world tilted. 6 months. That meant, I did the math backward. April. Tom had gone to a developers conference in San Francisco in April. He'd been gone for 5 days. He'd called me every night, told me about panel discussions and networking dinners, and apparently, he'd been conceiving a child. There's more, Linda said. She opened the folder. Inside were photos. Jasmine Chen at a prenatal appointment, her belly round under a flowy dress. Tom walking next to her, his hand on the small of her back. Tom at a baby store, looking at cribs, photos of an apartment building in the Pearl District. He set her up in a 2-bedroom condo. Paying rent, utilities, everything. The baby registry is under his name. Maggie, he's preparing for this child. Does she know about me? My voice sounded strange. Far away. Linda hesitated. I've been monitoring her social media. Instagram, Facebook, a blog she keeps. Maggie, she thinks he's divorced. She's documenting her co-parenting journey with her partner Tom. She talks about how amazing he is, how supportive, how excited for their fresh start together. She has no idea you exist. Of course, she didn't. Because Tom was good at this. Tom had always been good at compartmentalizing, at keeping different parts of his life in neat, separate boxes. Business Tom, family Tom. And now, apparently, new family Tom. There's one more thing. Linda pulled out another document. I ran a forensic check on your joint accounts, the ones I know you have access to. Maggie, he's moved $247,000 in the last 6 months. Some to her rent, some to medical expenses, but $150,000 went into an account you don't have access to. I think he's been hiding money. I sat there, staring at those numbers, and something inside me hardened. It wasn't just the affair. It wasn't just the lies. It was the calculation of it. The methodical way he'd been dismantling our life while pretending everything was fine. The way he'd stolen from our future, from the retirement we'd planned, from the legacy we were supposed to leave our children. What do you want to do? Linda asked. I looked at the photos of Jasmine. She was beautiful. Young. Glowing with that pregnancy radiance they talk about. In one photo, she was laughing, her hand on her belly, looking at something off camera. She looked happy. She looked like a woman in love, preparing for her first child with a man she trusted. She looked like me, 30 years ago. I want to meet her, I said. Maggie, are you sure that's... I need to see her face. I need to look her in the eye. I need to know if she's a liar or if she's another victim. Linda pulled out another paper. Her next prenatal appointment is Friday at 2 p.m. Rose City Women's Clinic. I can go with you if you want. No. I took the paper. I need to do this alone. That was 2 days ago. And now I'm here, standing in this hallway, watching the door to examining room 4. According to the appointment schedule Linda hacked, Jasmine Chen should be in there right now, getting her 28-week ultrasound. And somewhere in this building is my husband, pretending to be her supportive partner, her co-parent, her future. The door opens. A nurse comes out, smiling. Everything looks great, Jasmine. Baby's heartbeat is strong. Dr. Morrison will be in shortly to review the results. Thank you. The voice from inside is young, nervous, sweet. The nurse walks away. I should leave. I should wait until after the appointment. Approach her outside. Do this somewhere private. But my feet are moving, carrying me to that door. And before I can second-guess myself, I'm pushing it open. Jasmine Chen is lying on an examination table, her shirt pulled up to reveal her pregnant belly. Ultrasound gel still glistening on her skin. She looks up, startled, expecting the doctor. Instead, she sees me. Oh, I'm sorry, she says, reaching for a towel. I think you have the wrong room. Room 4. Right? Jasmine Chen. She freezes. Yes. Do I? Do we know each other? I step inside and close the door behind me. My purse drops from my hand, hitting the floor with a thud. Not from shock like I'd planned to tell people later, but from intention. I need my hands free for this conversation. My name is Margaret Walsh, but most people call me Maggie. I watch her face, waiting for recognition. Nothing. I've been married to Tom Walsh for 32 years. We have 2 children together, Emily and Jake. I live in the Craftsman House in Laurelhurst. The one with the Japanese maple out front that we planted when we were newlyweds. The blood drains from Jasmine's face. No, that's not. Tom is divorced. He told me he's been divorced for 3 years. He said his ex-wife lives in California, that they're civil but don't talk much. He said. He lied. I'm surprised by how calm I sound. We're not divorced. We're not even separated. He came home to our bed every night this week. He kissed me goodbye this morning. He told me he had client meetings all day. I'm assuming one of those meetings is here, right now, with you. Jasmine is shaking. She pulls her shirt down, covers her belly as if to protect the baby from my words. This isn't. I don't understand. Why would he? Because that's what he does. I move closer, but not threatening. I keep my voice gentle. Jasmine, I need you to understand something. I didn't come here to yell at you or to make a scene. I came here because I needed to see if you knew. I needed to know if you were lying to me or if he was lying to you. I didn't know. Tears are streaming down her face now. I swear to God. I didn't know. He showed me divorce papers. Well, he said he'd shown me divorce papers, that they were at his lawyer's office. I never actually saw them, I just believed. She's hyperventilating now. I'm 6 months pregnant. I'm having his baby. I quit my job because he said he'd take care of us. I left my apartment because he said we could live together once the baby came. I believed everything he told me. I should feel vindicated. I should feel angry. But all I feel is a bone-deep sadness for this young woman who, like me, trusted the wrong man. When did you meet him? 18 months ago. I started working at his company. I'm an architect. Was an architect. He was charming, attentive, supportive of my work. We started having coffee together, then lunches, then, she wipes her eyes. He told me his marriage had ended years ago, that his kids were grown, that he was ready for a fresh start. When I got pregnant, I was terrified. But he was so excited. He said this was his chance to do it right, to be present for a child in a way he hadn't been able to with his first kids because of his career. He made it sound like a gift. He told me the same thing when I got pregnant with Emily, I say quietly. He said all the right words. He always does. We sit in silence for a moment. 2 women, 30 years apart, both learning the same devastating truth. Finally, Jasmine speaks. Does he know you're here? No. He thinks I'm at home, planning dinner for tonight. He thinks I'm the same devoted wife I've been for 3 decades. Waiting patiently for him to come home. What are you going to do? I look at this young woman, at her pregnant belly, at her tear-stained face, and I make a decision. I'm going to help you. But first, you need to answer a question honestly. Do you love him? Do you want to be with him? Knowing what you know now, Jasmine looks down at her stomach, her hand protective over the curve. I love my baby. That's all I'm sure of right now. Good. Then here's what's going to happen. I pull out my phone and dial Linda's number. I have a friend who's a private investigator. She's going to help you document everything. Every payment he's made, every promise, every lie. You're going to need a lawyer, a good one, to make sure your baby is taken care of. Because let me be clear, Jasmine, Tom Walsh is not going to be a present father. He's going to do exactly what he did with Emily and Jake. He's going to work late. He's going to miss milestones. He's going to prioritize his business over your child. But he will pay. I'll make sure of that. Why are you helping me? I'm the other woman. I'm the one who... You're not the other woman. You're another victim. And I'll be damned if I let him destroy 2 more women without a fight. Linda answers on the second ring. I explain the situation quickly, give her Jasmine's contact information. By the time I hang up, there's a knock on the door. The doctor, no doubt. Or worse, the door opens. Tom walks in, carrying 2 bottles of water and a bag from the organic grocery store around the corner. He's smiling, excited, about to say something about healthy snacks for the baby. Then he sees me. The water bottles hit the floor. Maggie. What? How did you? Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I stand up, and I'm surprised by how tall I feel, how powerful. This man who'd seemed so large in my life for 3 decades suddenly looks small, pathetic. Did you think you could just start a whole new family while keeping your old one? Did you think we were both that stupid? Let me explain. Explain what, Tom? Explain how you've been stealing from our joint accounts to set up your pregnant girlfriend? Explain how you've been lying to both of us, telling her you're divorced, telling me you're working late. Explain how you used my trust, my devotion, my willingness to sacrifice everything for you, to build yourself a nice little life while I waited at home like a fool. Maggie, please, just listen. No. You listen. I stepped closer to him. I gave you 32 years. I gave up my career for you. I raised your children. I hosted your clients. I smiled at your fundraisers. I stood by you through every single failure and success. And this is how you repay me? It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Jasmine and I, we connected. You and I, we'd grown apart, you have to admit that. Don't you dare try to make this my fault. Don't you dare suggest that I somehow drove you to this. Tom looks at Jasmine, who's watching this unfold with horror and heartbreak. Jas, I was going to tell her. I was just waiting for the right time. You told me you were divorced. Jasmine's voice is quiet but firm. You let me believe we were starting a life together. You let me quit my job, leave my apartment, plan for our child's future. You're a liar, Tom, to both of us. Tom looks between us, and I can see him calculating, trying to figure out how to salvage this, how to talk his way out. But for once, his charm won't work. For once, there's no deal to close, no client to win over, just 2 women who finally see him clearly. I want a divorce, I say. And I want 60% of everything. The house, the business, the retirement accounts. All of it. If you fight me, I'll drag this through court and make sure every client, every business partner, every person in Portland's development community knows exactly what kind of man you are. Or you can agree to my terms quietly. We'll mediate. And you can salvage what's left of your reputation. Maggie? You can't. I can. Linda's already been documenting everything. The hidden accounts, the money transfers, the fact that you used marital funds to support your affair. Any judge will side with me. So the question is, do you want to do this the easy way or the hard way? Tom's jaw clenches. He looks at Jasmine one more time, like he's hoping she'll back him up. Tell me to leave. Choose him. But Jasmine just turns away, her hand on her belly, tears streaming down her face. Fine, Tom says. But I want shared custody of Emily and Jake. I almost laugh. They're 30 and 28, Tom. They don't need custody arrangements. But you can explain to them yourself why their college funds were $50,000 short. You can tell them why their father decided to start a whole new family instead of being present for the one he already had. I pick up my purse from where I dropped it, and I look at Jasmine one more time. Linda will call you tomorrow. Document everything. Every text, every email, every promise he made. You're going to need it. Then I walk out of that examination room, down the hallway, out of the clinic, into the Portland autumn air that smells like rain and coffee and freedom. I sit in my car for a long time, my hands on the steering wheel, and I wait for the tears to come. But they don't. Instead, I feel something I haven't felt in years. I feel awake. I feel clear. I feel like Margaret Walsh again. Not Tom's wife, not Emily and Jake's mother, but me. The woman who'd wanted to change the world. The woman who'd been buried under 32 years of devotion to a man who didn't deserve it. I pull out my phone and call Emily. She answers on the 3rd ring. Mom, everything okay? Not yet, I say. But it will be. Emily, I need to tell you something about your father. The next 6 months were a blur. Linda's documentation was flawless. The forensic accountant we hired found another $75,000 Tom had hidden in offshore accounts. The mediator looked at the evidence and strongly suggested Tom agree to my terms. He did. I got the house, 60% of his business, and a settlement that would keep me comfortable for the rest of my life. Tom got to keep his new apartment, his new girlfriend, and his rapidly crumbling reputation. Apparently, word travels fast in Portland's business community. Several of his biggest clients pulled their contracts, not because they cared about his infidelity, but because they couldn't trust a man who'd been stealing from his own wife. If he'd do that to her, what would he do to them, Emily and Jake? They were devastated. Emily stopped speaking to Tom for 4 months. Jake wrote an article about father figures and betrayal that went viral, but eventually, they came around to a tentative relationship with him, not because they forgave him, but because he was still their father, and because they knew their new half-sibling would need all the family support possible. Jasmine had the baby in December. A little girl she named Hope. Tom pays child support, sees her twice a month. But Jasmine was right not to trust his promises. He's already missing visits, already making excuses about work. But Jasmine is stronger than I expected. She found a new job at a different firm, hired a nanny, created a life for herself, and hope that doesn't rely on Tom Walsh's empty promises. We're not friends, Jasmine and I. That would be weird. But we're not enemies either. We text occasionally about lawyers and finances and the various ways Tom is predictably disappointing. Once, she sent me a photo of Hope's first smile. I sent back a photo of Emily at the same age. We understand each other in a way few people could. As for me, I did something I should have done 26 years ago. I went back to school, got my administrator's license, applied for a principal position at a charter school in North Portland, one that serves underserved communities. I got the job. I start in the fall. I also did something else. I opened my own bank account. Just mine. No joint access. I check it every morning over coffee. I watch my own money. My own future. And I think about all those years I let Tom handle the finances because I trusted him. Because I thought that's what wives did. That's the thing that bothers me most when I look back. Not the affair, not even the lies, but the fact that I made myself so dependent on him that I didn't even know what was happening in our own accounts. If there's one piece of advice I'd give to any woman, especially the young women starting out, it's this: know your money. Check your statements. Have your own accounts. Financial independence isn't about distrust. It's about self-respect. It's about making sure that if the worst happens, you're not left wondering how you'll survive. I still live in the Craftsman house in Laurelhurst. The Japanese maple we planted is huge now, its leaves turning crimson and gold every autumn. I sit on the porch swing sometimes and remember what it was like to be 26, in love, building a life with someone I thought I'd grow old with. I don't regret those years. They gave me Emily and Jake. They taught me strength I didn't know I had. But I don't miss him. Not for a second. I thought finding out about Jasmine would break me. I thought that moment in the clinic, seeing my husband's pregnant mistress, would be the end of Margaret Walsh. And in a way, it was. The woman I'd been, the one who defined herself through her husband's success, through her children's needs, through everyone else's expectations. She did die that day, but someone new was born, someone who checks her own bank accounts, someone who has her own career, someone who doesn't wait for permission to live her own life, someone who understands that loyalty among women is more powerful than any man's lies, someone who knows that your worth isn't defined by who chose to betray you, but by how you choose to rise afterward. Last week, I ran into Tom at a coffee shop. He was alone, looking tired, older than his 62 years. He asked how I was doing. I told him about the job, about the trip I'm planning to Iceland next summer, something I'd always wanted to do but had never made time for, about the pottery class I'm taking, the book club I joined, the life I'm building that has nothing to do with him. He said he was proud of me. Can you imagine? Proud. Like he had any right to claim my success as something he'd contributed to. I said thank you and walked away. And as I drove home through the Portland autumn, past the coffee shops and boutiques, past the river where the salmons still run every year. I thought about that moment in the clinic hallway. The smell of antiseptic, the weight of prenatal vitamins in my hand, the moment I thought would destroy me. I smiled. Not because I was happy Tom had lied. Not because I was glad Jasmine got hurt. But because that moment, as painful as it was, as devastating as it felt, that moment set me free. I didn't just survive, I thrived. And if you're reading this, if you're in that moment right now, standing in your own hallway with your own devastating discovery, please know this: you'll survive too. You'll do more than survive. You'll discover parts of yourself you'd forgotten existed. You'll build a life that's yours alone, not defined by someone else's choices. You'll wake up one morning and realize you're not just okay. You're better than okay. You're free. That's my story. That's how visiting my husband's pregnant mistress at a prenatal clinic became the best thing that ever happened to me. Thank you for listening.